When I was young, I was not a good speaker. I failed in school many times. I failed in jobs. Even KFC rejected me. But one thing I learned early, if you cannot speak well, people will not follow you. So I start to learn not from teachers, not from books, but from life, from listening, from trying, from being laughed at. Today people say, Jack, you speak with confidence. No, I just speak with belief. Let me tell you something. When poor people talk, they talk about problems. When the middle class talk, they talk about other people. When the 1% talk, they talk about the future. Most people talk about what has already happened. They say the market is bad, the world is unfair. But what's the point of that? Everyone knows it. If you want to become successful, speak about what can happen. In 1999, when I started Alibaba, no one in China believed the internet would work. I said, one day, every small business in China will sell to the world. They said, Jack, you are dreaming. Yes, I was dreaming, but the 1% speak like dreamers. Because if you can see it in your mind, and you can say it with your mouth, someday you can hold it in your hands. That's the first rule of communication. Don't describe the world, design it. When you speak, people can feel your energy before they understand your words. Even your dog can feel it. When I speak to my team, I don't use fancy words. I use belief, because if you don't believe what you say, nobody else will. You don't need a perfect English or perfect grammar. You need a perfect heart. You need to mean every word. Because the world is full of smart talkers, but short of real believers. When your energy and your message match, that's power. That's leadership. When I give a speech, I use simple English. Some people ask, Jack, why don't you use complicated words? Because complicated words only make simple ideas sound difficult. If you really understand something, you can explain it to a child. That's how I built my company, by making things simple. People don't remember big vocabulary. They remember simple truths. When you speak, ask yourself, will a 1-2-year-old understand me? If yes, then you are a great communicator. Don't try to sound important. Try to sound clear. You can fill people's heads with data, but you can only move their hearts with stories. I always tell stories not because they are interesting, but because they are real. When I tell people I was rejected from Harvard 10 times, they laugh. But behind that story is pain and hope. People feel that. They feel human. And when they feel human, they trust you. Emotion is stronger than information. If you can make people laugh, cry, or believe they will never forget you. I failed more times than most people even tried. And I'm proud of that, because every failure gave me one more story to share. People don't connect to perfection, they connect to struggle. When I speak, I never pretend to be a hero. I just tell them how I survived being ordinary. And that's enough. If you want people to respect you, show them your weakness and how you stood up anyway. That's real strength. Many people speak to look smart. I speak because I care. I care about small businesses. I care about young people. I care about those who fail and still stand up. When you speak with care, people feel it. They stop listening with their ears and start listening with their heart. That's how you inspire, not just inform. When I was young, I didn't have money, background, or power, but I had my voice, and I used it. I spoke with passion even when no one believed me. I spoke with courage even when I was afraid. And I spoke with kindness, because kindness builds bridges faster than power ever can. Remember, people don't follow money, they follow meaning. And meaning begins with your mouth, the words you choose, the heart you speak from, the belief you project. So if you want to speak like the 1%, stop trying to sound rich Start trying to sound real. Because authenticity, not authority, is what the world listens to now. When I speak to a big audience, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I never was. But I always tell myself one thing. Jack, if you speak from your heart, people will listen. Because people don't care about how rich you are. They care about how real you are. And that's the secret of communication most people miss. You don't need to dominate people. You need to connect with them. Most people are afraid of silence. When they speak, they rush. They keep talking because they think silence means weakness. But silence is powerful. When you pause, people think. When you stop, the room breathes. Sometimes I stop in the middle of my talk. I look around. I smile. And I see everyone waiting for what's next. That's control. Not with words, with presence. When you speak too fast, people hear sound. When you pause, people hear meaning. So next time you speak, pause. Let your words land. Make silence your ally, not your fear. When I was a teacher, I learned something important. People don't remember lessons, they remember stories. If I tell you, never give up, you might forget it tomorrow. But if I tell you, I applied to 30 jobs and everyone rejected me, even KFC, but I never gave up, you remember that forever. Stories carry emotion, not just information. They make people feel, not just think. And when you touch the heart, the mind will follow. So when you speak, don't try to sound clever. Try to sound human. Tell stories people can see themselves in. Because the best way to teach is to let others find themselves in your words. Before you speak, check your energy. If you walk into a room nervous, the audience feels it. If you walk in confident, they feel that too. When I started giving speeches, my English was poor. I worried people would laugh. But then I realized something. If I don't respect myself, how can I expect others to? So I decided I would speak with pride, even if I made mistakes. And guess what? People didn't laugh at me. They respected me. Your energy controls the room. Before you speak, fix your energy. Don't look for confidence from others. Be the confidence in the room. When I speak to young people, I never tell them only the good side of success. I tell them the truth that success is painful, lonely, and slow. Because people are tired of fake motivation. They want a truth. When you tell the truth, people trust you. In my early speeches, I said in Alibaba, we made so many mistakes that if we wrote a book about it, it would be a bestseller. The crowd laughed, but they also listened because they saw I wasn't pretending to be perfect. Honesty created connection faster than perfection ever will. Some people think that being serious means being strong. I don't agree. If you can make people laugh, you can open their hearts. When I give speeches, I always make jokes, especially about myself. I joke about my looks, my English, my failures, because laughter makes people comfortable. And when they're comfortable, they're open. A good joke can teach more than a long speech. So never underestimate humor. It's not weakness. It's humanity. When I speak, I don't speak for Jack Ma. I speak for small business owners, for dreamers, for people who have failed 100 times and are still trying. If your words only serve you, people won't listen. But if your words serve them, they will follow you anywhere. That's the secret of leadership. Leaders don't talk to impress, they talk to lift others. So before you speak, ask yourself, am I trying to be right or am I trying to help? If it's the second, people will always listen. You want to know how to make people remember you? Say less, but say it often. I always repeat the same ideas. Believe in the young. Don't give up. Help others succeed. People say, Jack, why do you keep saying the same things? because most people still don't do them. Repetition builds legacy. Your message becomes part of people's memory only when you repeat it with emotion. So don't be afraid to sound simple. Be afraid to sound forgettable. This one is the most important. Every time I speak, I remind myself I'm not speaking to an audience, I'm speaking to people. They have dreams, fears, families, hopes. They are not just the listeners, they are humans. When you speak with love, you stop performing and start connecting. And that's when communication becomes magic. Because love is the highest form of intelligence. When people ask me, Jack, how do I become a great speaker? I tell them, don't try to be great. Try to be genuine. You can study techniques, voice, posture. But if your heart is closed, your words are empty. Open your heart. Speak your truth. Even broken English can change the world if it comes from belief. So remember, the 1% don't speak better because they're rich. They became rich because they spoke with vision, truth, and love. Your words can build bridges. Your voice can start revolutions. Use it wisely.